Hello once again, YouTubers. This is Pastor Uresti, also known as Approved of God. Not that I consider myself to be approved of God, but that I want to be approved of God according to the New Testament and the way it says in Timothy. Now, today again I bring you a video clip, this time of a oneness preacher who is talking about Philo of Alexandria. And that makes me very happy to know that there are some oneness people who are acknowledging that Philo played a crucial part in the development of the Trinity doctrine. Now listen to Bishop Hayes, and I agree with what he's saying. And the only thing I can add to it, that when we discuss the Logos Christology, that's just one area. But when we talk about the Trinity, that's another area where Philo had a lot to do with that, including teaching the three persons of God. And so, but I'm happy with what Bishop Hayes is saying, and I will add him to all my other sources that I'm using to prove that Philo gave us the Logos Christology and he gave us the Trinity doctrine that is believed today.
The doctrines of the Logos and the Trinity received their shape from Greek fathers, who were much influenced directly and indirectly by Platonic philosophy. These errors and corruptions crept into the church from this source. Absolutely, my friend, cannot be denied. Christian apologists overcame this difficulty by showing that Christianity had common ground with both Judaism and philosophy. In this task, one can't underestimate the influence of one Philo of Alexandria, Egypt. Philo was a contemporary of Christ and the apostles. He was a Jewish philosopher who lived in Alexandria, who was a student of Plato and the Stoics. Greek philosophy had been at work on the concept of God for several hundred years and had transformed the ancient superstitions of half-animal and half-human gods to an homogenized form of principles and energies. It was theorized that there is only one God who is God in himself. In this, it's suggested by Philo that the Greeks were influenced by Moses through the Shema, Deuteronomy 6 and 4, who could not touch this God, this one God, could not touch or be touched by a created universe. This transcendent deity must then communicate through an intermediary that was called the Logos. Since more is going to be said about Philo later, let it be sufficient here to say that he saw the Greek Logos as the promised Hebrew Messiah. Now, Philo was a Jew, not a Christian, but a disciple of his by the name of Justin, called by Christians Justin Martyr, embraced the thought of Philo concerning the Logos and Christ. Justin and other Christian apologists begin to promote this Logos Christology of Philo and the Greeks in their Christian circles. Justin was a Platonic philosopher first and foremost. He was a Platonic philosopher before he became a Christian and continued to wear the philosopher's cloak as he preached his version of the gospel. He saw Christianity as being the fruition of all true philosophies. Now, the doctrine then of Logos Christology is basically this: God himself is too holy and pure to become involved in the created world of matter. So a secondary entity was brought into being and called the Logos, who created all things in behalf of God, the first principle. This Logos was called the second principle. This second God, as Justin Martyr called him, came to earth and was born of the Virgin Mary and died for the sins of the world. Now that is the Logos Christology. The link between Philo's teaching and the Trinity as adopted by the Roman Catholic Church is so strong that Edward Gibbon, centuries later, in his master work, The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, we've referred to Plato as, quote, the Athenian sage that had thus marvelously anticipated one of the most surprising discoveries of the Christian revelation, the Trinity, end quote.
You heard from Bishop Hayes what he had to say about it, and I love everything that he said. Now, I pray that all oneness believers will adopt this teaching of Philo so that we all can be teaching the same thing. Because this is the truth. Philo did give us a Trinity. And all you have to do is study and research if you really want to know. But if everyone that doesn't believe in a Trinity would agree on Philo, we would have a very strong argument against all Trinitarians and Unitarians too. Because Unitarians, even though they say they don't believe in a Trinity, they believe in two. They believe in God, supreme God, and they believe in Jesus being a divine second person or an exalted human being. Whichever, but the Unitarians are totally wrong, and I keep telling them that they're wrong. The best way to look at Scripture and the best way to believe in God is through the oneness teaching of God. God is one being, supreme being. And I like to say it this way. There's one God who moves by His Spirit and creates through His spoken creative word.